I'm not going to start over, but family reunion wasn't just about real estate. And that's what I really appreciated. You know, it was really about us as individuals, and going with a group of people. That's the magic. I mean, you could go anywhere and do anything. You know, we could have been skiing. It didn't matter. But the time that we spend together as a team, as colleagues, as agents, as humans, it's just, you know, time that is just incredible. And a lot of agents said, like, you didn't really know some, you know, Angela that well, and, you know, like Linda that well, but getting to know everyone on a deeper level, like, just makes business easier. It just makes it better. It just makes everything better. So anyway, please plan on that. And if you want us to hold money back from closings, we can absolutely do that and help you start your own savings fund, you know, for family reunion or even mega camp. You're not going to mega camp.
Most likely not. But
San Antonio in August. You sweat much?
Yeah, I will second what Jess just said. I mean, so the truth is, you can take real estate content and take classes anywhere you want, online, all the time you want, or you can motivate yourself if you're so motivated. But there's something unique about being, in a way, forced to engage, right? Because you've
forced.
Well, no, but I mean, to be
Yeah.
fair, like, you're there, you've paid for it, you want to maximize it, but you're also at the same time building relationships further, getting to know people. It's like our travel days were nightmares, but the truth is, we also bonded a ton. We had to do all that extra stuff through the process. So it's like, make every minute life. And maybe that's just some of the stuff we took away was more mindset and mentality versus pure real estate techniques and strategies. Yeah. Having said that, we're going to talk about some real estate techniques and strategies.
Right. Yeah. So there are really a lot of great speakers, and I wish we could get to them all. But so the biggest thing that I think is relevant, just kind of to get back to business, is the vision speech that Gary does. Now, Gary doesn't do anything unique or amazing, except for pulling all this information together and making it super digestible and better for us to be able to communicate to you what was important in the market last year, economic trends, things that are affecting everything that's going on. So I appreciate Gary just for that, being able to pull this together and communicate it to us in a way that then we can bring it back to you. Because I think ultimately our vision for Market Monday is always what's going on in the market so that you can be speaking to your clients. If you don't have these conversations with your sellers and your buyers, I'm not sure really what you're doing then. You need to be establishing yourself as a professional as often as possible. And that's why we come on every month to give you those tools to do that. So without further ado.
Yeah.
I'm driving.
Hey, Jess.
Yes, Laura.
Hey, how much is that that week?
So the ticket early bird pricing is about $800. And then travel is what travel is. But I think some of us got some good deals, and I think Linda like her flights were stupid cheap and much better and super comfortable.
She had nice seats.
She had nice.
Sorry, inside joke.
A little bit of an inside joke. Yeah, she flew Breeze, and you can decide if you want nicer or nicest seats, which we're going to go for next year. And then honestly, the hotel accommodations is up to you too. What I think we might do an Airbnb, because Atlanta next year doesn't have, like, the convention center isn't connected to a hotel the way Mandalay Bay was, which was so stupid convenient. You just walk out of your friggin' elevators and walk down to the convention. So we may have to have a little bit of travel piece built in, but maybe we do an Airbnb. And if you kind of room with other people, then obviously you can, bring your costs down significantly. But we'll start sending out resources. Yeah,
I'm here to plan.
I'm buying my ticket now. This is getting locked in. So
what we'll do today, because we will talk probably in other classes about some of the specific seminars that some of us attended and what our takeaways were. I think there's a lot of value that we can bring back, but the purpose of this is essentially a reiteration of the vision speech, which is the big kind of Gary Keller's state of the company or state of real estate kind of address. Yeah. And so we're gonna do the 1 hour summary version, our version, right?
Our version, yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll go into basically like what you see, the numbers that drive our real estate situation, and then we'll hit the NAR numbers, like statistics, like what are sellers looking for, what are buyers looking for, which I love that stuff because it's not what you think it is. So stay tuned for that.
So today's not really local real estate content or numbers. We'll resume that next month. And as always, please just shout out or raise your hand on the meet or whatever, however it works. Just
Yeah, if something's
wanna hear
interesting
if
to
you
you
have
and you
thoughts
have a
or-
question for
yeah.
sure. But yeah, and we will kind of relate it as much as we can back to our market and what we see. But honestly, what we're seeing is pretty much on trend with what the entire nation seems to be seeing. So I'm gonna have to move this guy. So it's not far away.
Oh, I didn't bring my list. I took that list and I
You
didn't
don't
even bring
need
it.
your list.
That's okay. Okay.
We're winging it. So home sales. So basically this is in the millions. So obviously the 24, when they put this together was still a little bit projected, but we ended up at about 4.1 million homes being sold in 2024. What's awesome about these graphs is you're going to get a lot of historical data, and that pinkish sort of purple line going through the middle is the average, is on pace with what these spikes that you see in the dips is kind of on average. So we seem to have had.
Well, that in this case, that so there's going to be a bunch of graphs in this presentation. So the key thing, I don't know how math oriented people are, but every graph you want to first of all familiarize yourself with the scale. So they're usually years on the x-axis. Anyway, some of the dotted lines are going to be averages, and some of them will just be showing a particular piece of data. We'll try to help you understand what we're trying to convey in each graph. The key one for this,
oh, that's a 2023 sale.
yeah,
line.
the key one for this is that this is the bad graph. This is showing that 2024, the purple bar is the lowest since 1995. So that's a 30-year low in the number of homes sold in America. That's not great reading for a business that makes their living off of selling homes.
Correct.
Right. And the projection for 2025 is incredibly not much higher. So we are looking at most real estate projections are saying another solid, it's not a bad year. It's just not as good as it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Right. So it means that the people that do the right things and put the effort in are going to be successful. The people that expect it to be easy and to come their way naturally, it's not going to work out for you if you just think business is going to fall in your lap. So that's the takeaway here. But just know that it doesn't look like this year is going to be a lot different than last year.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other slides that kind of talk about, it looks like it'll take a few years before we get to any 5-6 million kind of data, but that's okay. We can still transact. So this is going to look at it more monthly. So the purple is going to be comparing 2023 to the blue in 2024, just basically what sales look like.
And the key thing with this one is just that November, December, they don't have I don't think the January was just that little bit of teal that's a little higher than the purple at the end is showing that there is some signs of life. We had actually a stronger late winter 2024 than was expected. So there was some green shoots of recovery kind of emerging.
It definitely went up. I mean, because you see like it starts to kind of tick down a little bit in that middle where we had that NAR changeover too. Like it's not on accident. It's starting to tick down a little bit. And then in October, you guys figured it out between August and September. And then we were able to go out and do business where the whole year felt like we were kind of holding our breath. So and we talked about that on our market Mondays anyway. We just felt so locked up and there was so much unknown. And then you guys figured it out and you hit the ground running. So it should overall be a better year anyway. So this is your prices. Your trend line is that blue line going through the middle. So annually, year over year, there's basically a 4% gain in home prices. I'm saying that right? And we have to look at the smart one. Yeah. So
this is, if you ever learn one graph in real estate, this is probably the one that should be seared into your mind. Not necessarily the individual bars, but this slightly curved 4% increase in home valuation. This is why real estate is worth investing in, because it consistently goes up. Even when it wasn't fantastic in 10-12, when there was the recession going on, it still was actually okay. Maybe 1 year it didn't go up, but it always
but it
goes
still
up.
levels out.
But what happened in the COVID years, obviously, was we jumped way above the trend line, and so now we're still remaining significantly above where we should be for a true balanced, appropriate market. And that's one of the complicating factors that's impacted our market since COVID kind of ended, or we were back in everyday life. The prices haven't really adjusted to what is the appropriate growth for what should have happened historically. Will we ever completely reset? It doesn't really look like it. It just looks like that growth, the increase might drop down, and it has dropped down. We'll see in the next slide. But this is something you should always have in your mind when you're talking about people that are thinking about real estate, maybe not as a primary home or a need, but as an investment or an option or an opportunity. It's always going to be a solid investment if you think about it as a long-term investment.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And as of right now, trending 9.9%, almost 10% over that historical line is a great conversation to have with a seller. Like, no matter what, right now, you guys should be in the black. If you've been in your home prior to 2020, right, you can kind of follow this line back and say, well, if they bought in 14 or if they bought in 18, they are trending higher, and they should be able to not considering all other factors as well, but they should be able to leave comfortably and net some kind of profit if they sell their home now.
100%. They usually, I think, isn't it 7 years? If you own your house for 7 years.
It's been 7 years. I wanted to get that, like, if there's updated info, 7 years. But it has always been about 7 years that they say. So for example, if you're talking to a buyer that's worried about a high interest rate, which we'll get into more in a minute, hey, you're going to be there. Do you plan on being there more than 7 years? Because if so, the interest rate's not going to be a factor anymore, honestly. And you're going to see some other graphs to prove that even more, but you're going to be in the black. You're going to have more equity in your home than you even realize.
Correct.
And you guys, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, just let us know. This is just kind of showing you the average right now, right? The annual appreciation. So we seem to be, if you kind of look at the 24, well, the 23, 24, the average was that we were up about 2.7. And again, these are national statistics, but that right now we're trending or projected to do about 2.5% in appreciation this year.
Correct. So we are still in a little bit of a correction, a price correction, a little bit rebounding from that massive COVID spike in that 12.5%. And that's okay, right? Everyone, sellers even, should understand that, by the way, 2.5, it's still growth. It's still an increase in value.
It's up. Absolutely.
It's just not quite as fast.
When people tell you, like, we're waiting for the market to crash, it's not going to crash, because you'll see on some of the other graphs too, like the market that we're in right now just kind of seems to be normal now. It's not a trend. It's not like we're 5 years after the pandemic and it's the same trend line going up, and we have pretty much the same interest rate. So this is the market. This is normal. And it's okay to kind of do business, because traditionally, or at least historically, you're still in the black. You're still doing well.
I mean, just not to belabor the point, but 2.5% of a $300,000 valued property means that at the end of the year, you are worth $312,000 just through the market appreciation.
Yep. And this is kind of just on the timeline since the Great Recession and housing crisis. So if you look towards kind of the middle of this graph, March 91 was sort of the last time that we dipped below. Home values dipped under that line. So unless there's some kind of financial anomaly or crisis like COVID, we dipped a little bit, obviously there. Not to the tune of that 12% that we dipped during the housing crisis. But again, showing this to somebody, like, historically, it always does appreciate. It is actually a positive story. So, even raising, the rates as we did, it's still going to level out and still be overall positive. So anybody like with the sky is falling type mentality on the market is just probably crazy. And should have some.
But it does show that geopolitical or economic events can be disruptors.
Sure.
And there's something to be aware of. We'll touch on it briefly later on.
Yeah.
But uncertainty isn't great for any market.
Uncertainty is great, but unless there is an event, basically the market, does well and pretty much will always be on that positive growth. So this is agent count. This is NAR agent count. And I think even, after COVID, it was really easy to like sell real estate. So you see how there's that huge spike in 21 of everybody got freaking licensed. And then that sort of kind of started to taper off a little bit. And we kind of expected even more people, right, to drop out, especially after having a few difficult years. But maybe they had such great years in 21 and 22, they haven't decided to give up yet, or they actually got into some training and coaching and figured out how to do business in a tough market. But it's just an interesting graph to kind of look at. There wasn't that huge drop off. What's the statistic? 60% of agents closed nothing, or is it 70? Was it
60% closed zero.
60% of agents in 2024 closed nothing. Nothing. Not you guys. So maybe we will see, the projected this year is up, but maybe, that's a positive projection, and maybe there will be agents that come out, but maybe they stay in the fight too.
And those are fundamentally, those are your competitors, right? So, which again, it doesn't mean that everyone is doing a lot of business, but people want to get into real estate because they know there is money to be made if you do it properly. And we want you guys to be the best at it. So you are proving your value to all your clients.
Well, sure, if you do it properly. And I've always been kind of the team leader that, like, I'm happy to talk someone out of real estate too. I've talked to people like, oh yeah, I'm going to get in, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And after kind of, getting under the hood a little bit, they think it's a job and they think they're going to be given leads and it's going to be easy. It's like, no, you're actually opening a business. So there's going to be expenses and there's going to be marketing and there's going to be a lot of legwork that you have to do. So but we always try to keep those conversations front and center with our agents anyway. Maybe there's just more people at Keller and they're just well trained. All right, there's our inventory. And this is, so a balanced market would be that middle line there.
Correct.
And you can kind of see that we've been living well under it for a while. And this is what we've been talking about anyway for 2 years of Market Monday. Seems like they do think it's going to tick upwards. Again, you're going to see at this point, 5 years into it, we're in a normal, this is our market. Like, it's not an abnormal thing happening. This is our market. Get used to it. Let's figure out how to do business in there. And that's why you're going to see it kind of tick upwards a little bit.
What we didn't talk about when we went through this earlier is part of what's behind this number is, well, there's a lot. There are sellers are holding onto their homes because if they sell from their low interest rate, there might not be an affordable place that is preferable. But also, this is really showing the fact that America as a nation has not been building enough new homes to replace the homes that are aging out, are depreciating out, are falling apart, and are increasing population. So the problem with low inventory is that there just aren't enough homes to actually live in. And we dug a hole about 10 years ago when builders kind of slowed down building, and we're still recovering from that. So that's part of what the inventory is, a lack of newness. In our area, we don't have almost any actual builders building.
Right.
Some parts of the nation are throwing up houses left and right. They're kind of budget houses right now, and they're having issues, but at least they're at least giving people places to live. We don't have that, or at least not a lot of it, not consistently.
Yeah, and I also think a lot of our inventory then gets bought up, second home market, it gets turned into Airbnb. Everyone has a friggin' Airbnb now. So we are in a little bit more of a tighter market because at least in Otsego County, there's more of a primary home market and there's not more homes coming on. And if people decide to hold on to the mortgage at 3.25% mortgage rate that they have, that's why you're going to see this. But again, it's normal now to have a 7% mortgage. So people can't wait anymore. They're going to start moving around.
Yep.
And we'll talk about mortgage rates.
That's it right there.
Yeah. So again, this historical average, and this goes back to 72, and you can see what happened in the 80s. And Gary shared that he started Keller Williams at basically around between 81 and 84. He started Keller Williams with a 12% interest rate and had no problem growing and, selling 50 homes his first year and all that stuff. So that was normal to that market then. And you can even say, as it, came down a little bit later on towards the 90s, it was still pretty high to us, what we think, but it was a normal market then. So historically, the good news is the historical average is that, we're so pretty much on pace with what it really should be.
Yep.
And understanding that, the COVID interest rates were because we had a massive crash. And that is not normal. So people waiting for that to come back, it's not going to come back. We are exactly where we're supposed to be. And honestly, we're projected to just continue this 6.5, 7% into 2025. So this is the new normal.
Yeah, totally the new normal. Anyone that's saying to you as buyers, I want to wait, rates might come down. They might come down a couple tenths of a percentage
They're
point.
not coming.
But
Yeah, I wouldn't wait for that.
yeah, it's not going to fundamentally alter really your payment structure or anything like that. It might be a couple bucks, but it's not going to be huge.
I think the takeaway from this is when you're having conversations with buyers that are scared of the interest rate, the takeaway is that, these few years that they're judging today's market on are the anomaly, not the norm.
Yeah.
So, and you have new people coming into the market all the time, first time home buyers, and, oh, well, my friend bought for, 4%. So 7% seems, that's actually normal. Your friend bought during an anomaly. And why, again, are you still waiting? But again, it's just kind of calling their attention to the facts. I love numbers and I love facts because there's no opinions here. It's like, hey, this is what it is. Don't wait anymore. It could tick down, like Rich said, a tiny bit, but you're actually right where you're supposed to be. And the best thing you can do is buy and wait, not wait and buy. I learned that this week. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, and I mean, on sort of a tiny side note, we love our lenders, and everyone has lenders that do a great job, and they're always going to create some kind of program that's going to help.
Mm-hmm.
But there are fine details in those things, and there was the whole marry the rate, or marry the house, take the rate.
Yeah.
Like there was a big thing when the rates increased 3 years ago.
Oh, just refinance.
3-2-1
Yeah,
buy downs.
don't sell that. I
But
wouldn't
there
sell
is
that.
fine print to all that stuff.
Yeah.
And if the rates don't change, which they haven't, then your 3-2-1 buy down is suddenly, it didn't change at all, and I'm still.
Yeah, and you don't
Yeah.
want to stick someone in a situation where they can't afford it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I would hate to represent a buyer, push them forward into something they actually really can't afford. So at the end of the day, we do have to be responsible, but make sure they're talking to professionals and they're talking to people that, really going to be able to give them the best assessment. We're not financial advisors, but if they have a 7% rate today, then they should probably realize they're going to have that 7% rate for the foreseeable future and get real comfortable with that payment.
Correct.
And we were talking about earlier too, there's other factors, right? There's other ways to invest money that you can be earning a higher percentage on your savings. So there's other ways to offset this. This is one part, of the financial puzzle for individuals, but being a professional and being able to communicate that as well. Your rate might be 7%, but have you even thought about moving your savings into a high interest, yielding account, whatever. So there's that too. Not that you should give them financial advice, but they should talk to someone about those other things to be able to offset their overall, cost.
Yeah, I think we're just saying, budget for the now and expect the now to be the future. If it's better, great. If it's worse, you'll adapt, but don't think it's going to be easier than what it is right now.
I don't think it's going to go. Yeah. Don't wait anyway, because at least you'll be building equity.
Yeah.
And if you do have to get out in a few years, at least you'll be building equity. That seems to also be, the situation as well. This is just another graph.
Yeah, I mean, the only
This is like zooming in on the
let's
last
just zoom
10
in.
years.
Exactly. All you're seeing is when, because in my mind, for some reason, I still think that these interest rates seem new, but they're not new. They actually spiked in May and June of 2022.
Right.
Which we were that's like 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. Like
it's been like
it's
this.
the norm. It is life now.
Yeah, it's life. It's life. So, but I love having this information. Like, I hope this is helpful to you guys. So when you talk to your buyers, you could tell them that this is life. This is life. So let's figure out what we have to do. Maybe we have to look at homes that are, that need a little bit of work. Like, maybe you're not going to buy something that's brand new, fancy, turnkey out of the gate. It's okay if you have to do a little work in the kitchen over time or something like that. So there's other ways they can save, but they should definitely not wait. So we love this one. And so basically what this is it's a breakdown of, I guess, the population that owns homes, of what their mortgage rates are.
If you have a mortgage.
If you have a mortgage and you fit into one of these little pieces, I love pie graphs. So just kind of bringing your attention to that big pink piece there. So 34% of people right now that are holding a mortgage, their interest rate is between 3 and 4%.
Me, it's you, probably.
That's me.
Most people have bought in the last 7 years or something.
Exactly. And 22% has 3% or less. And those sometimes are adjustable rate, 7-year mortgages, things like that. But that seems to be the biggest piece of the pie right now. But one thing that Gary had mentioned while he was talking about this slide is the people that have that 5 to 6% or 6% or more is most likely going to grow and has been growing
For the last 2 years.
over the last few years. So it looks wonky, like, oh, look, most people have this, but that's going to be something that we're going to watch year to year decrease. And more people are going to be in these other higher mortgage rate percentage totals.
The teal and the pink are going to increase over time. They're going to decrease, and those orange and blue and green bars will take over more of this pie chart. And then the conversations are different, right? Because now the high interest rate is still the minority.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, it's going to quickly change, because if everyone's ever listened to Gary Keller talk, 6% of the people in your database are going to buy or sell this year. So properties change hands, and the interest rates are the new norm. We were just talking about. Okay.
Yeah, that 16% is going to grow pretty fast for sure, especially now because people have still been waiting, and they need to understand, what are you waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
Because actually, it's not in your best interest right now to wait. To wait, because this is just going to be what it is. And there's another graph, hopefully we get to that, just kind of showing that trend line again for the way that we're projecting it. So, all right, so let's talk about this one. So affordability, you explained it before perfectly.
Yeah, so what this one is showing you is the percentage of your income that people are on average spending on their mortgage, which in the United States is considered your principal and your interest. It actually doesn't include your insurance and your taxes. There's a separate set he did for Canada. Their metrics are different. It's interesting to me. But if you look at this, for example, that purple line is showing you the average in this century, right? So the average up until this point from all of 2000s is 1/5 of your income is going towards your house, essentially. Whereas if you look at the longer term average, it's actually higher. And the orange line is the now, right? So right now we've actually spiked up again because of these the interest rates and everything. So now we're above that kind of historical trend line of the last 50 plus years. Again, this is important. What we just said about budgeting, buyers have to budget for their lives. And if 1/3 of all of your income is going into your house, to me, it feels
you have to know that.
like a tightrope, right?
Yeah, you have to know that.
If every other expense in your life is going up and your income isn't maybe going up the same way, then you got to know what you can afford, because what you don't want to do is buy a house and get underwater, right? So part of again, we're not financial advisors, but this is why that pre-approval is important. This is why really knowing your means is really important.
Yeah.
And maybe making some sacrifices, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, you get and we're going to get into other slides that, why do people buy? The desire to own a home. There's like still an American dream around this home ownership that's still a little bit, feels almost a little bit unreal. And there's hope, and there's positive energy being pushed in that direction that we have to kind of weather with reality of it. Okay, it's also going to be 1/3 of your income. So let's go ahead and make sure you take a look at that with the lender. And lenders that you're partnered with, have this conversation with them. So do you guys really look at their whole shit and make sure that they can actually afford it? Like, I know they can afford it today, but can you make sure that my buyer can get to that 30-year mark and actually pay off their mortgage? Like, I want to know that the lenders that I'm supporting and putting in front of my people are able to have these conversations as well. But the good news is we're not in 1981. That's really my biggest takeaway, is that no matter what, it's not 1981 where it was 49%. It was half of your income was your buyer, was your housing.
And because our last market crash in the 10s and 10, 11, 12 was so bad, lenders have gotten better about not not approving things that people can't afford, right? They don't want you to foreclose on your house. They don't want to foreclose on your house. They don't want to go through that. So distressed properties are actually really low right now. People are holding their homes. It's just a little bit of a caution for me. A third of my money sounds like a lot to pay for my house.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, if you don't have any other expenses, and it just depends on how you live. So we're going to skip Canada because we're not there. And is this the one we're going to do we're going to skip this stuff, the GDP stuff? Yeah. So this is just how all the different economic factors kind of play in. Was it that people are saving less money? I think that was the biggest takeaway from this. And you could see in 2020, it spiked up after the pandemic that people started to save, what is this, 11% of their income?
Yeah, I mean, there were government, there was government helping the economy to kick into gear. People were staying home. They weren't spending as much. So there was a lot there that was packed into that. But we are back to again, historically, this is going back to 1959. We are right near the lowest we've ever been in terms of personal savings.
People learning that, financial, how to be financially sound. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that isn't taught, and the majority of the country are like well below, we're not middle class, we're well below working class. Like, I didn't grow up with any type, what's a savings? Like we just had what we had from week to week from my mother's measly paycheck to paycheck. Well, that's starting to play out again. So we do have to be having bigger conversations about saving and setting ourselves up in a way. Like we don't need all the things.
Yeah.
You don't need all the things. You need what you actually need, which is what? Food, water, and shelter. It's like outside of that, you don't need all these things. So I think people have to get back to just it's a whole commentary on our society
totally.
at the end of the day. But
I just pruned some subscription services. I was like, what am I even doing?
What do you need? All the things.
Paying for? Yeah.
No. I also dug out an old pair of shoes. I didn't buy a new pair of shoes. I was like, oh, those are still fine. Let me go ahead and put those in the washing machine. And inflation, as we know, it seems, we know that it's been spiking, but it did feel like it's kind of been pulled back together, at least projected. Inflation should get under control a little bit more, but there's so many other economic factors happening, and I don't know how much time we're going to spend on this. I think this was just the one you wanted to mention.
Instead of diving into, we're not economists, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Gary Keller did spend quite a while on, and we don't want to get political at all, but the take-home message was that there is certainly a degree of uncertainty about what the next year or two might hold in terms of if there are significant policy changes. Historically, conflict is not great, natural disasters are not great, and unpredictable governmental policies are not great. So that's the background. And then the little thing, the little graph, the little images, the icons on the bottom, these are what matter for real estate, right? For people to think about our business, those are the things that really matters. Employment is one of them. The cost of money, that just means all the economic stuff. And then valuation of real estate. So some of the economy doesn't directly relate, but what's happening in the world over time impacts real estate, if that makes any sense.
So it's like he gives us all these slides and all these projections with the huge caveat of like, but we don't know. Yeah. We really don't know how the next year is going to play out. If things start to move really fast and change really fast, then it could have an impact on our market. But I think overall, our market tends to weather things pretty well. Like I said, short of a drastic pandemic or a housing crisis, we seem to weather things pretty well. But I will tell you, in those two examples, you do see the most real estate sold immediately behind those things as well. So even in a worst case scenario, if our market does tend to take a little bit of a negative hit, on the other side of that is always a very, very positive upswing. So if you're in this business for the long term, get used to that, get used to the back and forth. Like I've been only through one really since the pandemic. I got licensed in 2011, which was after that 2008, 2009 crash. I haven't really gone through any major, and I've been licensed since 2011. So it's been pretty sweet. And even through COVID, people were buying shit online. Like we shut down for 3 months in the city. We have 3 goose eggs in terms of sales. And then So we tend to rebound pretty quickly, and people always have to move. They always have to buy and sell. You just have to be in front of the ones that are ready to go.
So we'll skip all this.
Yeah, I don't think we were going to get into this stuff as much. We have the fun pot coming up for you. Well, underwater homes, look how low that is. So I think, again, just going back to the pandemic, when people, weren't working, they weren't bringing in any income. They were filing for this one.
Yeah.
They were filing for the forbearance, where like they, got a little bit of forgiveness. They didn't have to pay their mortgage for a few months. And then we kind of expected there'd be this influx of foreclosures, right? People that wouldn't be able then to jump in, because then they had to make 3 months payments to jump back in to be current. But thankfully, and I don't want to see foreclosures, and I really don't. I never want to see someone lose their home. I think that's the second worst thing that can happen, other than your house burning down. So I'm happy to see that, there has not been an influx of distressed homes or foreclosed homes. Yeah. And you love this one.
No, I don't love it. It just reinforces.
No,
it just reinforces what we said a little bit ago. That 2007 into 2008, all the way really up until like the 2017-18 mark, we just stopped building, right? And that's what happened in America. The economy was good. There was lots of houses. All the building from 05, 06 was enough, but it wasn't enough for the future. And so that's the hole we dug ourselves. We're still going to take a long time to get out of, because we just don't have enough healthy, clean homes for people to live in. And that's interesting that's hitting right at 2008 and 2009. You think everyone stopped building and said, let's just sell what we have. Let's just give everybody a mortgage for any old friggin' thing. Yeah.
And they stopped building, and they just started to use up what we got. That's an interesting thought. Huh.
There was one on multifamily homes. I don't know if we have it here, but there actually is a lot of multi-family home construction happening, but not single family home construction happening.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to talk about challenges for builders and developers?
Not a ton.
I mean, and again, that comes back to the administration's policies, trades, tariffs, things, is building materials going to get more expensive? Like all the kind of different changes that are happening, like we just have to keep an eye on it. We just don't know how that's actually going to impact and how much that's going to impact.
There were a couple on it. You don't have to go back, but there was two slides on insurance. And I believe that homeowner insurance is an increasingly important part of the whole budgeting principle. So we've had a significant national increase in homeowner insurance. Again, this is kind of natural disaster related, but Florida, California, and the coast have been hit very hard with some hurricanes and some fires and everything recently. So this is showing people that stopped paying their homeowners insurance, right? So the higher you are in the red, you got into some trouble. Your insurance company said, hey, there were fires, so therefore everyone's rates go up, and guess what? I can't pay for it, so I'm going to stop paying. I might go underwater on my home. New York, upstate New York, is very not in this case, but it should be on our radar that nationally insurance rates are going up, and that's part of your payment. So it's increasingly part of my conversation with people. I never used to even talk about insurance in the entire purchase process. That was a lender thing, whatever. But now I'm like, ooh, are you thinking about all the stuff you're spending money on? Because
I'll tell you,
insurance is high.
So when I bought my property, it also wasn't even a conversation for us until October of 2021. FEMA now required flood insurance for, like, if you're anywhere near, if you can fucking see water.
Or if you live next to a bridge.
Yeah. And so what did Jess do? In November of 2021, I closed on a property on Skinevus Creek with my own bridge. So I am in a 10 out of 10 flood zone, and they hit us for $6,000 in insurance right before closing.
Yeah.
They're like, you're not closing without this mega stupid insurance policy. That since then we're able to find actually a much lower $1,800 a year. I pay extra for flood insurance on top of my normal insurance, but I wasn't even a conversation. So yes, definitely it should be on our radar, and definitely it's something you should be considering in the conversation when you're talking to your buyer about affordability. They should definitely know whether or not they're in a flood zone and what's going to be required. Industry news. Is this the one? No.
Yeah, we were gonna skip
It's the NAR.
So this is a whole,
statistics.
yeah. So now we get into kind of a separate section. So that top was kind of Gary Keller's state of the real estate world market. And then this is actually not any KW. This is NAR data from every year. They do a survey of home buyers and sellers, and they submit their
why they do business and how
ideas.
they do business and what they're looking for in a realtor. So it's
Yeah.
This is your cheat sheet, guys.
This is
Please,
what the people are saying.
this is what the people want.
Yeah.
And if you ignore this, good luck. All right, so let's talk about buyers. This was interesting, I think, to us because this is the percentage of first-time home buyers in the market. Which if you kind of just look at the last few years, it's up and down, but 24 was only 24% of buyers in the market were actually first-time home buyers.
Yeah, historically, again, back in time, and this is only going back to 2000. This is not even ancient.
Yeah.
If you take this back, almost half of homes sold in the U.S. used to be first-time buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the first-time buyers are a quarter of home sales, which is low,
Yeah.
and this doesn't have it, but the age of the first-time home buyer went from 28 to now 38.
Yeah.
So people aren't able or deciding to buy a home for the quote unquote first time, although technically first time can be different, but for a much longer time. So it just shows how that affordability is impacting people, and
Yes.
it's taking them longer to pull the ripcord and say, I'm going to build my equity. I'm going to make this big decision.
I just had a thought. You love when I have random thoughts.
Yeah.
So first-time home buyers, I'm going to assume that they're only tracking homes, not land.
Yes.
And I think there's actually a trend towards, because I mean, it might just be my feed, but I'm watching so many people now, young people buying land, buying off the grid shit, buying land that they're building on. They want to be 100% independent freaking homesteaders.
I'll tell you what. Listen, no, you take a side. I'll take a side trip too.
Yeah.
Someone bought a piece of land about 2 miles down the road from me in like November, and there was a piece of land I was interested in. It was cool. Anyway, I've been watching them all winter long. They've been living in an RV up on the top of this mountain, plowing the driveway. I always see smoke coming out of the RV. Like they have a wood stove in there. They're living in an RV for the whole winter.
People are fucking doing that. Like they're, because it's not affordable. So maybe they are literally dropping out of the home market.
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. Ooh. All right. Why do people buy a home? It's still a desire to own a home, 22%. I mean, desire for a larger home, that's also higher than I thought. Desire to be closer to family and friends, that's actually the opposite of what I thought. I'm kidding. I got away from everybody. The little things that, I think, and maybe this is just me, but, the things that I thought people moved for, job related, retirement, they want to be closer to a job, school, or transit, affordability. These are ranking super duper duper low. It's just that desire is still that American dream to own a home, which is the highest percentage, which I thought was super interesting. So in your messaging, right, and in your marketing, what do you think your marketing should say? It should be really talking to that dream. This is the dream. You have this opportunity here, and let's talk about it. And let's talk about what you can afford, right?
Yeah, these next few graphs, not gonna lie, there's a lot to digest. So you're not gonna get it in this 2-second snapshot that we're talking about, but generally what these show is that the buyer seller profile has not changed a tremendous amount over the course of these surveys. So some things are changing a little bit, right? That
so
desire has gone
seems
down.
to be down, right?
But in general, what you'll see on these slides is that if you look at the history, it's pretty consistent overall. And
Correct.
So buyers and sellers have, because sometimes I feel like we get narratives. There's always a media narrative, or there's something floating around, and it seems like this is suddenly super important. But on average, the important things are I want to own a home because I know it's a good investment and it's going to be a safe, comfortable place for me to build my whatever, my dreams, my family, whatever these things are. But it's the mental concept of ownership. It's the mental concept of my own space. That's what Americans desire.
Yeah, and that desire to be closer to family and friends. By the way, I know I made a joke, but if you notice, that is trending upwards. So people want to be moving more connected, which I advocate for completely, because I think, why do we, break up and move all over the place? And like, I think the family compound is a thing.
It's becoming a thing.
Yeah. I mean, my mother moved back, my mother-in-law moved back, but still that's 3 separate households that are now in one, that we're all pulling the weight together. And that makes a lot more sense.
There
for
are
us.
companies, this is another sidetrack. There are companies marketing building family compounds.
Yeah.
Like it's a design plan.
Absolutely.
4 houses and a centralized
would love
pool
that.
or whatever. Yeah.
A
that's what they're doing.
centralized pool?
Yeah.
Ooh. Weeks in the home search. So I think Rich hates this.
I hate this.
This graph.
Gary Keller hates this too.
Gary.
It's all because all this does is it just shows that people spend about 8 to 12
take a long
weeks
time
to look for a house. And it's always been that way.
It's always been that way. But it's kind of good to, I mean, I don't know that I would tell somebody it's going to take you 10 weeks. I definitely wouldn't use it for that. But in the back of your mind, if they're pushing the 10 weeks, it's time for them to shit or get off the pot. And at that point, I would definitely, let's sit down and let's talk about what we've seen. Let's talk about if anything has changed on your needs list or wants list that I don't know about. Because obviously you're not finding what you want. So that means we need to have another conversation. So don't be afraid to check in with people that way too, and just see if anything changed. Okay, what's the first step in the buying process? What's the first thing the buyer did? They looked online. 43%, which is about, it goes up and down, but is about what they do.
And I think this is where during the speech, even earlier today when we kind of previewed this, I think that this is where this survey kind of drops the ball a little bit. I don't think they are discerning enough with some of these topics, right? So how do I put it? Like probably 95% of people start online, right? Because it's so easy now. Everything is online. So you're going to go to either a big box brand like a Zillow or a Realtor.com, or who knows, they might be on your agent website, but technically, are they saying that was through the agent? Are they saying that was through the internet? So there's some fine margins there, but essentially, again, to your point, some of the lower, you might want to look at these graphs and look at the things that don't matter more than the top few things. Like they aren't looking in a magazine.
They didn't
to buy
look
a
in
house,
a newspaper,
right?
guys. So don't put ads there.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't market. By the way, like marketing is different than finding a home or because marketing is about brand recognition and knowing someone exists, and that's always going to be good. But what this is saying is that they didn't go to the builder as their first step. They started online.
But the good news is that they're looking online, but then immediately they're going and they're contacting a real estate agent. Yeah. So all these, even Zillow, the iBuyer stuff, trying to cut you out. And you'll see that in some other slides too, that the agent is still absolutely the most important person in a transaction. And we are still so vital. Don't ever lose faith in the fact that they need you. They need you.
There's actually an increasing, there is some evidence that like the agent role is more believed in and more valued than it ever has been.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. Look at this. Information sources that buyers use. 86% of them rely on their real estate agent for information about.
That's pretty big time. That makes me feel pretty important.
Absolutely. I feel pretty important. Yeah, I mean, mobile or tablet search device. So that's what they rely on. Then open house, that's what they rely on. Online video site. I mean, they rank, and there's some higher percentages on there, but ultimately there's, to me, such a big jump. And it's pretty consistent. You can see over the last, since 2006.
Actually, now that I look at this one, some of these have gone down. Like, for example, like the books and the print and the yard signs, they have gone way down.
I know.
I didn't notice that before.
The yard sign too, I was actually surprised as well, because a lot of people say that's how they found their house, but not so much anymore. It's real estate agent through and through and through, always at the top. So
this is why, again, for you guys that are getting used to working with buyers, the only thing that built my business, a couple things built my business, but one was every single person I talked to that was interested in buying a property, I immediately set them up on a search within the MLS system. You might have your own if you have your own website, but get them to be receiving things from you every single day or every single week or every time that a match for their property enters the market. You shouldn't have to think about your buyers. They should be getting stuff from you automatically, and they think, oh, Rich just thought of me today because this property hit the market and it's perfect for me. That's how I built my business. I'm not gonna lie. I just stuck them in the MLS and set up a search based on what we talked about.
But also you review those searches,
I review
though,
the
and you
searches
know,
all the
like
time.
Rich doesn't set it and forget it.
No.
He knows actually what has come up, and if there's something that you want to highlight, you'll go and do that.
Oh, yeah.
And you have the knowledge of the inventory in the market to actually say, hey, I sent this. You'll know what went out. I think we need to see this. This is definitely for you. So yes,
But at a minimum, right?
at a minimum.
You shouldn't talk to someone that says, I want to buy a house. You're like, okay, great. Well, that one that we spoke about on the phone, that's not a great fit. I'll talk to you in 6 months. No, it's what are you looking for? Let's dial it in and I'll send you stuff that's a match.
Absolutely. And where did they buy? Where did they find their house? Well, on the internet. I mean, that's kind of like where they're going to find it. But again, the next highest ranking answer is their real estate agent.
And the open
Most
house.
likely the real estate agent found it on the internet,
Yeah.
though, too.
Yeah. That's what I'm
So
what
I'm not
saying.
sad about it.
There's-
Yeah.
I think there's a semantic thing going on here. That's hard to discern.
Yeah, for sure.
But actually the yard signs went down again.
I know that I noticed on the other one too, like in the open house, even though I'm like, do open houses. Well, open houses is a marketing tool more than a selling tool. So the value of website features. So I love this, you know, because it always just reinforces what I talk about. I mean, obviously detailed property photo, you want to be able to answer as many questions a buyer could have as possible. But again, property photos, guys, and they really need to be professional. They cannot be on your cell phone. I don't care. I hope you hear me. They cannot be on your cell phone. They have to be professional. They have to look really, really good. That's how you're marketing yourself. Sellers are looking at that. Buyers are looking at that. It's really, really important that you're presenting yourself to the highest standard that you can. And floor plans. I always talk about floor plans are so important because people have to know if their friggin' furniture will fit. Trust me, floor plans will get you a lot of hits. They'll get you noticed. The other stuff, obviously neighborhood info, virtual tours, videos. I was surprised that videos was down as low as it is, but useful, sure, very useful. But guys, that having accurate property info, I mean, I feel like that should be common sense, and the photos and the floor plans should be common sense.
Yeah. Yeah, this one has a lot to unpack. I really do like it as well. I don't think that any of these are bad, but if you're going to focus on anything, make sure you know if you're listing a property, know it, like really know it.
Yeah.
Like read the deed, like know where the boundaries are, know the square footage for real. Don't just use the tax records, take measurements, like just know it. And people, they want you to know it.
They want you to know it. When we get to the seller, what does the seller want you to do? They want you to market their home to buyers.
Yeah.
It's like number one. You can't do that if you don't
If
know
someone calls
it.
me on my listing and they're like, is that a metal roof or an asphalt roof? And I'm like,
I don't know.
Let me
You're
pull
an
up the
idiot.
listing and look at the photos.
You're an idiot. All right. Woo! Method of home purchase. I mean, here we go again. You guys, as the agents, are in the blue. 88%.
Yeah.
88%. They need you, baby. They need you.
Yeah, it looks like, almost 90% going back more than a decade, right? So we are real estate agents are holding a very prominent position in this industry, and that doesn't look like it's moving a ton right now.
It really doesn't. So what do they want from you? Your buyer actually wants you to find them the right home. And we were talking about this a little bit before. It's not pointing out a house on the map, right? It's being very present when they go and see the home. Your butt needs to be in there with them, walk through it with them, show them the house, experience the house with them. And if you know your client, know your buyer well, you'll know immediately whether or not they even belong there. So being that resource and helping them talk through pros and cons of the properties, and really providing that high level of service is what they want.
Yeah, I think what we took away from this is that they want your humanity, right? They want your insight, your professional insight, but they want to be seen and heard and understood. And that's their needs. That your job is almost be a therapist for a house, right?
Yeah.
But again, look at some of the stuff that doesn't matter a ton from the agent. They don't want us figuring out their financing. 3%.
Right.
That's not our job.
Connect them to the
We
lender.
have professionals we can hook you up with, but
Screen your lender
Yeah.
and then send them and go.
the whole thing
Help
about
with paperwork, they'll figure it out. Answer the questions. There's really just questions. help with price negotiations. I mean, yeah, they're going to take your input, but the buyer's going to offer what they can afford, what they're comfortable. They already know pretty much what that is. And you can only really move that lever a little bit with them.
It's funny. Sometimes the more you look at, this is all numbers, but just before we went on air, we said the takeaways from the conference and the takeaways from some of this information isn't necessarily what you have to know. It's just who you are. Just care.
Who
just
you
care.
have to be.
Yeah.
Just care, right? Yeah, they need somebody that, to bounce off of, right?
Yeah.
And to someone that really knows them well enough at that point to help them make a good decision. So again, in your marketing, there you go. I'm going to help you find the right home.
Yep.
That's your message.
And again, we didn't took that. That's not necessarily search. That's
right.
That's in the room. Is this the right house? Right. In the
right.
building. Is this right for you? It's the feeling. It's the context. It's all the factors that you're supposed to be helping them with.
Right. Because anyone can set them up on an MLS search. Yeah. Right. All right. So how do they find their agent? Referral is number one at 40%. And, on average, probably, lives there. So again, if you're not getting repeat clients, if you're not asking people for testimonials, if you're not asking people for referrals, there was actually one mega agent panel and the guy said he asked for a referral before they even get to the closing table. And what he does is in his listing presentation, he says, listen, guaranteed something's going to come up.
Yeah.
We're going to hit a challenge. We're going to hit an obstacle. And do you trust me to get you through that? Right. And just kind of setting up expectations. And then he says, so if I get you through that successfully, can you make a promise to me? Can you make that commitment? Since I'm making this, I think it's a promise. I'm making this promise to you to get you through all the stuff. Can you make a promise to me that you're going to give me a referral when that happens?
Yes. Again, it's one I don't want to call it scheme. It's one tactic, but he called it the promise. He created a two-way reciprocal relationship of I promise you, I will get you through this deal.
Yeah.
I'll figure out the stuff that comes up because we always will anyway.
It always
but
will
then
anyway.
When I solve those things, can you promise me you'll help me with another piece of business?
Correct.
And it actually works for him.
It works for him really well. And so then when something does come up and they don't get a referral, he calls them, hey, so let me know where I dropped the ball because I want to make sure that I'm delivering on my promise. And they go, oh shit. Oh no, you were great. Okay. Yeah. Let me call, and they go to work to get him a referral because they want to fulfill their end of the obligation. It's works for him like magic. So those referrals, guys, however you want to get them, just get them. We're going to go over a little bit. So if you want to hang out with us another 10 minutes or so,
we're not far.
We're not far from the end. So hang in there. And then again, they used their agent previously, but we've always seen the slide that breaks that down is that most people don't stay in touch.
Yeah.
So they try to use you. They will use you if you stay in touch. So referrals through your past clients, referring, new people to you, and then your people coming back to you when they need is going to be 57% of how you get business. All right. These slides, by the way, I think these are not linked in the Monday email, but I can send out the link to you guys. Buyer interviews. So 75% of buyers only talk to one agent. You got to be the first, and you got to, in that moment, convince them that you are the best. 16% will talk to two agents, and 7% will talk to three, and only 3% will talk to four or more. I don't know who those people are. I would love to be a fly on the wall. What are they looking for? All right. And what are the most important factors? Buyers are looking for someone with experience.
And I think I agree with Gary Keller in the moment. He wants to kind of replace, this is again NAR's survey, but I think experience is not just have you sold 70 houses, but it's what do you know. So you can know a lot without having a ton of experience per se, and that's how much you educate yourself. That's how much you care to know the market and know the comps and know what the structures are all about. So please don't see that as I need to have a track record,
a certain amount of sales.
per se. Yeah.
No, you need to be knowledgeable. You go and you have these conversations with your buyers and sellers. You'll be like, oh shit, that chick knows their stuff, and I need to be working with them. But we were laughing that it outweighs honest and trustworthy. So fine, whatever. But a good reputation obviously is still going to be important to them. But then again, that, that experience and that honest and trustworthy is always going to be right at the top. But this is interesting. Like, do they list you just because you're a friend or family member? I mean, I know that people don't do that. Most friends and family don't use you, and that's okay. Don't let that hurt your feelings. You're building a business. Knowledge of neighborhood, like all caring personality. Good listeners.
I care about 10%. If they're a good person.
But do you have experience?
Also, though, I mean, not to go too far, but association with company. I mean, I increasingly love Keller Williams. I'm not a huge stan of anything, but they don't care. They don't care who you hang your license with. They want you to be a good agent and to be a good person. And again, one of the cool things about where we're at is that we promote you promoting yourself. Yeah,
we want you to do that. It should be your brand.
Yeah.
It's like when I left Douglas Elliman to come to Keller, I called my biggest client and he was like, where are you now, Douglas Edelman? He didn't even know where I was. I was like, oh, I guess it's okay to move then. Yeah, they just want you guys. They just want you and all your wonderfulness. All right, so this is like, do people think that real estate is actually a good investment? And whether or not they believe it's better than, say, stocks and bonds and some other stuff. So 80% of the world at large still think, well, at least the national world at large, think that real estate is a good investment. So it's really still a good conversation to have with people, coupled with the desire to own a home. And also it's going to be a great investment, especially if you're there more than 7 years.
Right. It goes back to that 4% trend line we talked about.
I mean, that's so positive. That's so 80% of people think buying a house is a good thing. Then why does this feel so hard sometimes? Like, lead with that then. They know it's a good investment. They believe that. And they think it's better. Half of them think it's better than any other investment.
Yeah.
And it's really the only thing that almost everybody can do. So yeah, lead with that. That's a great story. Buyer repeat business and referrals. They would definitely, 73% of your buyers would definitely use you again. That's not bad. And probably in the pink.
Yeah, if you stay in touch, right? This is the thing.
But you got to stay in touch.
I've been in business 6 years. I know there's buyers I've worked with that I really like, that I probably haven't kept in touch with as much as I should. And there's a chance that when they go to make their next decision, they might not even think of me.
Yeah.
And I consider myself a decent agent at most things, but maybe my follow-up or my consistency with that isn't great. But if I reached out,
they'll use
3/4 of the time, they would love to use me because I did a good job in the moment.
I mean,
but
honestly,
don't let them forget.
It's really, if you add the probably, which is what they've done in that right-hand side, 88, 90, 89, 90, it's all pretty much for the last 10 years.
They want to work with you. They want to
work with you.
People
again.
like people that do a job for them.
Do them a favor and stay in touch. We think we're bothering them.
Yeah.
You're not bothering them. You're reminding them the amazing experience you guys had together. And they're probably so grateful to you for all these reasons. They desired to own a home. You helped them financially, make sure it was the right thing. You made sure it was the right home for them. It was a good investment. Look at this positive story that you have to tell them. And now reach out. How's the house? Do you need anything? And if something went wrong, it's okay. I'm connected to resources. What can I do for you? The customer service never ends. The caring, 8%. Buyer and seller satisfaction. So, okay, somewhat satisfied feels a little uncomfortable for someone like me. I want them to be, I am very satisfied. But if you add those numbers up too, like it's really buyer satisfaction. It's 7% of people that are somewhat dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. So most people are going to be, and 10% of sellers are somewhat or very dissatisfied. So most people are going to be.
You won't like my summary, Jess. We talked about this before, but the two things I took away from this whole thing were the fact that pretty much everyone only talks to one agent. Both we didn't see the seller one, but the sellers also pretty much 80% of the time only talk to one agent. So be the first one and make the call.
Mhm.
And then also just if you get the thing sold, then they're going to be satisfied. So the bar is pretty low, man. They're like, just be there and be good at it, right? I said something different earlier. I won't on the
No, go
recording,
ahead, say it.
but just be 1% better than shit, right? And you're gonna be a good
Ooh,
agent.
we got a recorded curse word out of Rich. He said, just be better than shit and you'll get the business. No, that is not your takeaway. Be much better than shit, please. I beg you. All right, let's talk about sellers. So 38% of sellers, they found their agent through a referral, like we say. And again, 28%, this is again, your overwhelming percentage is always going to be they either used you before, they know you, or someone that you know used you, or someone that they know used you.
I don't believe that 4%.
I keep telling him his business would increase by 38% if he just stayed in front of people. Yeah. Let's try.
I'm pretty good. I'm hanging on to those 4%.
Let's try. 38%.
4%.
We're gonna see if we can raise him 38% this year, because I know that I'm right. So anyway, that's referral. Stay in front of them, be visible, and again, if they used you before, make sure you stay in front of them. Send them a friggin' card every year.
It's fascinating. I mean, I don't know. Do I not trust this, or is it just?
How could you not trust this though?
No, because we know
they asked actual people
that open houses work. We know that direct mail works. We know that signs work. It's just interesting. I guess it's a survey. I have to trust it.
You have to trust it, and I think again, this is national. And I think in our market, we are very different. Like I learned that, like coming up from Queens, it could not be more opposite. And the shit that works downstate does not work up here and vice versa. If you send mailers downstate, you'll just be doing that ad nauseum, and no one's ever going to call you unless they know you. So I always mailed my past clients and showed them what I was doing and what I had. And I got referrals from that. But you cold mail a building or a house, you're not getting shit. But Rich has had some success with that. It's different up here, and I think it depends on what the messaging is. Right.
But I mean, I think the point of all that really is we always talk about it. Maybe it may not be my wheelhouse, but really most agents, your wheelhouse should be your sphere. It's your people. And that is your database. We talk about it all the time. Even if you don't think they're ready to buy or sell, they should still be hearing from you. They should be getting something, quarterly emails, holiday blasts, whatever it is.
Yeah, just
But your sphere is your business. That's your people that you know.
You need to check out what I sent out in the Monday email today was actually the link to the agent panels, their playbook. So they had, I didn't know Jeff Glover made $280 million in GCI, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything that says Jeff Glover on it, please freaking read that. But they had all like the top, like $1 million+ in GCI earning mega agents from all over. And some of them are not from big cities. So I know like a lot of people say, well, that won't work here. Yeah, some stuff won't, but some stuff will. So please take a look in that whole drive and see what resonates with you to do.
Yep.
But it's not difficult. They're picking one thing that really resonates with them that they love so much. It's aligned with who they are as a freaking human being. And when you're that authentic and you're that genuine, people gravitate towards you. So the whole family reunion was all about you as the individual. And like I said, I freaking love that messaging. Be authentic, be you, and you're going to attract the business you're going to attract people like you. Yeah. And who doesn't want to do business with people that are like them?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not people like me.
There's a lot to it. I mean, we are over, and we apologize for that, but we got
excited. 1 or 2 more
we
slides.
Get excited about this stuff. And I
think
there is more mindset stuff that we'll probably talk about in future panels. But you're so right. It's know who you are, it's believe in who you are, and do activities that you like to do, and it'll show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your enthusiasm will be there. If I hate open houses, wink, wink, kind of hate open houses, mine might not be successful because it's almost like I'm bringing an energy that isn't authentic to it.
If you don't believe it's going to work, it won't work.
Right. It's amazing that all these experts are just like, just know what you like and lean into it.
Yeah. And the open house thing, like I know that was a big downstate thing. And that was that's all my lead gen. I never did anything but open houses, and I would have 40 people walk in. You're not going to have that necessarily up here, but the open house has other functions as well. But check that drive out, click on that and see, you know, what's in there that kind of resonates with you. And as we get more resources updated, I'll make sure you guys have it. But this is the seller interview one.
Yeah. Same thing.
81%. And again, that's up, right? Since 2020, 81% of sellers only interview one.
I had a
agent.
conversation. It was just before our family reunion with a potential seller for the spring, and the words literally came out of this person's mouth without me prompting. They were like, "You know what? I'm lazy. I'm not going to call anyone else. I'm just."
Yeah.
Like, didn't even care if I knew any. It's just like,
for sure.
all right, cool.
Well, I've had them say to me, like, so do you want to be one of the agents I interview? And then this happened more than once. They would say, I would get there, we would talk. So by the way, I'm not calling anybody else. I'm like, you just wanted to fucking make me nervous. You just wanted to like set me up for like, yeah, they're only going to talk to one. It's your game to lose, basically. So you can impress them in that moment. But I think we're going to get into quickly what sellers are looking for. Yeah. What do they want? So just deliver on this, guys. So they want you to market their home to potential buyers. It seems super, predictable, but at the same time, you know, what does that mean?
Yeah,
right?
what does
So
it
what does
mean?
marketing the home actually mean? It does come into professional photography, professional presentation, really knowing how do you market a home if you don't know the home? Be a professional. You have to get to know their home. Why did they buy it? If you start asking them what they love about their home, why did they buy it? They feel good now in this conversation. They're going to feel really good about you. And I love this. 20% was help them price it. And we feel like we always have so many issues with sellers, like wanting to tell us what it's worth. So we're going to have more classes and conversations around pricing. But yeah, help them price the home competitively. Competitively is an amazing operative word there. Yeah, that means we need to be at market or below if you want to get more offers. So being comfortable with those conversations is actually the conversation they want you to have with them. But agents might be afraid to have that conversation because they think they won't get the listing because they're trying to educate rather than just agree to everything. Are you a professional or not? And then help sell within a specific time frame. Yeah, those are the top three. So when you do your marketing, I'm going to help you price this thing competitively. I mean, that's the operative word. We're going to get it done in the time you need it to. And I'm going to market it in the best possible way. This is going to be the best looking house that anyone's going to look at. And they're all going to want to come here. There's your sales pitch.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. I just said a minute ago, know yourself and know what you're about. But there are some things that indicate here what sellers want is they don't necessarily need someone that's going to call themselves like a negotiation tiger, right? Or you know, like, I'm going to fight for the best deal. Only 6% of them care that much about that part, right? And
but a higher percentage.
I'm really good at paperwork. I mean, that's no one's value proposition, but I'm organized. Well, okay, 3% of people care that you're organized.
No one cares. I'm like, no one cares. But help the seller find ways to fix up the home to sell it for more. That's actually ranking a lot higher than I feel like we're used to in our market. Yeah. But also I think that comes down to staging. Don't show houses that are full of garbage. And I know sometimes you have to, but that's a very rare case. If you can work with your seller on staging, getting it cleaned out. I mean, I had a seller, you know, once that just had stuff everywhere. And I said, can we just get all the stuff into one room? So that all the others, so 95% of the rooms are really beautiful and just one room has a bunch of stuff in it is fine. And then I'll pay Box Brownie $25 to virtually take the shit out. And now you have a perfect spread online. So work with them. They actually want that from you. So don't be afraid to bring that up in your conversation.
Yeah. And again, towards the professionalism part, if you are saying, well, I want to bring in my professional photographer, but they won't come in until
you clean your shit.
It's ready.
Do the fucking dishes.
Yeah.
Put the toilet seat down, yeah, animal. All right. Again, this is the same shit. I might as well just show you the same exact one from the buyers. 87%. I mean, they're probably going to use you, or they're definitely going to use you. But again, it's going to be staying in front. It's incredible that you guys do such an amazing job. Don't drop the ball after.
It's true.
You're a step above shit. Nailed it. And how did they sell their home?
This is a good one to end on, actually, because I think it's almost the end.
90%. 90% use an agent.
So I actually really like this because
Love this.
it shows that
Is this not a FISBO mailer? You can snapshot this shit, stick it on a fucking postcard and mail it out to all the FISBOs.
Yeah.
Be like, look, dipshit.
you're the outlier, right?
You're the outlier.
The industry is a proven thing. We know what we're doing. It's in better hands with us, and you'll make more money with us than for selling by yourself. And people are getting the gist of it, right? In the last 20 years, that's gone from 12% to 6%, right?
Yeah.
So
For sure.
because they don't have the skills that you have. They don't have the marketing. They don't have the photography. They don't have the video tours. They don't have the ability to market on various channels.
Even if you don't end up with a listing, like my husband actually just sold a FISBO. He had the buyer and there's no inventory. So they looked at FISBO inventory and he called the guy and the guy was like, yeah, I'll play ball.
Yeah.
So he sold an off-market house. I mean, just use that. That's inventory too. They obviously want to sell. Just have a conversation. And you never know. Don't answer for them. Don't give yourself an automatic no because you don't think that they're going to give you a yes. So you just ask, just get in front of people. And this is offering incentives. Like 76% of sellers don't do that. So it doesn't seem to be something that makes any kind of an impact, whether it's assistance with closing costs or home warranty policies. It doesn't really impact too much. I do think that home warranty thing, though, is pretty cool. I think it's something we should try. It's something we can kind of include because I know there's some markets where that percentage, I guarantee, is a lot higher. But it's interesting that it's all going down. The incentives don't matter to a large extent. We used to do agent incentives.
Well, these are incentives from the buyer's agent to the buyer, right? This is what this is.
From the buyer's agent to the buyer?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I don't think you're right.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Because we're in the seller section.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Good. I was right.
I retract that.
You were wrong. For the first time, yeah, times
God.
319 times 10.
I've been wrong plenty of times, and she knows that. She's kidding.
Well, the only thing I will say about this too is like when we have a multiple offer situation, right? So when we were going through that in the city where there's like 30 offers on freaking everything, and we started to get super cute and offer like a Netflix subscription to the seller. So in that scenario, buyer to seller, there could be some fun to be had with that. But in terms of attracting buyers, what attracts a buyer is a well-priced, well-marketed home that is easily accessible because the agent actually answers their phone and is able to book an appointment. So keep doing that.
But these could be things for second home market, like furniture included at included in price without being considered an appraisal issue or anything like that. Things like that are, I guess, they're considered. I don't think of it that way, but that is a type of incentive, right?
Sure, you could do that. If the house needs it, if you've done everything else right, it's priced well, because it's always priced. If it's not selling, it's your price. But if you really feel like, hey, you know what, this is probably priced as well as it could be priced. Maybe there's something else going on here. Maybe it is a home warranty, or maybe it is some kind of other incentive. But I would chat GPT that shit. Don't be afraid of chat.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That's a whole different.
Yeah. I'd be like, what kind of incentives can I offer as a seller to get more buyers to my property?
Could make social media content.
Do a whole class on that. All right, guys, you're amazing. Any questions we went through a lot. We went through it pretty fast because we just really wanted to give you a recap. But if you go ahead in the Monday email and click on the mega agent stuff, I'll go ahead and upload these slides in that same spot so you can access these as well and go through them, digest them a little bit more. But here are the answers. Here's your 2025 and what you should be focused on and working on. And I hope that it was helpful.
Do we know about the shareability of these? So for example, if they get the PDF with the slides and they want to share this on social media or do marketing,
well, I would look at it all is copyrighted.
Right. I would
it
just
all
make sure
has
you
our
have
stuff.
the kind of the copyright stuff.
Don't cut off any of the
Yeah,
corners
yeah.
and shit. Make sure you have all your shit on there.
Sourcing is important.
Absolutely.
And credit is important.
Absolutely. And every slide kind of really has it. So make sure the stuff stays on the bottom.
Yeah.
And obviously, the source. There you go. All right. You guys are awesome.
That was a lot from us. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, we're
But,
even more tired now.
yeah.
From family reunion. But we need to have more panels. We will. Right. Great. So let us know if you have questions. We'll get this out to you guys, and thank you so much for hanging out.
Yep.
We love you. We missed you. We'll see you
Bye.
soon. Bye.